use the term visitor.
Sure.
But they're treated like prisoners.
I understand.
And there is no law and protection to protect them.
Dan Burrish has talked about this as well.
In 1960, and I can provide you with the document, we have put together and formulated, NASA did, a book that they call Outer Spacefall. It would not be until the 1970s that the question of the legal rights of an sentient being, not of this world, even came into play. And you know what those rights are? There aren't any.
Still, to this day, you're saying?
No more than what the rights would... A lab animal would have more rights than one of our visitors, and yet they are vastly superior to us in intellect, and even in spirituality. They would permit themselves to be killed. Many of them would. Many of the species. Other than to do something that would cause us to get injured or killed. And forgive me, but this is what I'm trying to avoid.
I understand. Well, okay, so they, in a certain sense, would sacrifice themselves because they have a deeper understanding of what's really going on than we do.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you must be a very highly tuned spiritual being yourself in order to be able to communicate with various races from other planets the way you have, and to talk about it the way you do. And that's really a gift. As you say, it's not something taught. It's something you come into this incarnation with.
Well, I like to think of myself. I want to be normal, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
Well,
from
I know what you're saying.
Externally, you appear like a normal person, and you've certainly held some very normal types of jobs, in addition to what you did, right? But you're also ultra normal, or you actually have used some of the parts of humanity that are good parts that are not used by the average man. Is that right?
Well, I hope so.
Okay, so that's a beautiful thing, and we're really happy to meet someone in person who's been doing this.
Well, with me, I think the one thing. Let me see if I can say this and get it through real quick. When I was young, I played with children that other people couldn't see. To me, this was perfectly normal. And I knew about the imaginary friends and things of this sort, but this was different. And it was perfectly normal. They had even helped me with my homework. And this was perfectly normal. Now, no one else could see these people. And, of course, I couldn't understand that. But, of course, they would tell me, they haven't been selected. They can't see us.
Sure.
Because I was trying to tell other people they were there. The one thing I could not do is that in being normal, I thought other people had these same experiences. As a child, not realizing that that wasn't the case. That was part of my environment. That was part of my reality. These were things that was happening to me. But I felt everyone had these experiences. But when I found out, and it came to me that, people were calling you crazy and you were different, it would have been real easy to be normal and say, ha-ha, the joke's on you, and deny what was happening.
Sure.
I cannot explain why I couldn't do that, but I could not do that.
Okay.
And everything was, going on. Nothing out of the real ordinary happened until I always cared about animals, and if I found one injured, I would always try to nurse it back to health. As a child, I did not understand that if you had a cut, my mom would always hold my hand under the water or something like that to wash it off. Well, I found this little bird. It fell out of the nest. And I went and got that little... I'm trying to tell this without... I went and got that little bird, and I held it under the faucet, not realizing that I was going to drown it doing that. The intent was to help it. I probably cried for over a week over killing that little bird. Immediately, for the first time ever, what I was calling children, I got to see how they really looked. And this one particular entity was, I always knew as Corona. I was told, I'm Corona, and that's with a K.
Okay.
Back at the time, I didn't even know how to spell Corona.
And what kind of race, what would you term him? What kind of being?
Well, people would love for me to say that he was gray, but he wasn't. He was green. And I mean, like a pastel green. But immediately he wanted to know, why did I feel what I was feeling?
Okay.
This was unusual. Mm-hmm. And immediately it was, why did I feel what I was feeling that he could feel? Mm-hmm. Because he was more like a monitor with me.
And he has a natural empathic quality and abilities, and it appears so did you. So it went both ways. If the telepathy goes both ways.
I'll carry it even a step further. We see our visitors as cartoon characters. They have cultures, they have societies, they have families, they have loves, they have dislikes, they have likes. Mm-hmm. They can feel pain, and they can feel fear.
Mm-hmm. So this was maybe your first, introduction into that world in a more personal way, right?
It was the first glimpse, a shock, that these things go on, but not everyone shares in them. Mm-hmm. And so you never felt so alone. I can remember breaking down and crying, begging my mom and dad to take me to see a doctor, because I knew the doctor could make the monsters go away.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if someone like you, one of 7, who is able to communicate with aliens, wasn't taken to a base on the moon or a base on Mars. Now, whether or not you remember it, because I don't know if they use techniques to have you forget certain parts of your experience.
There are things that I have no idea of could have happened here on planet Earth that I have very vivid memories of, that I don't see. For example, have you ever heard of a coffee cup that's small, that you put coffee in it, and the coffee jar or whatever, it's not a percolator, golden color, cups for golden color, but you put the coffee in there and you can drink it, then it fills right back up. Now you see what I'm saying, and now you understand why I'm hesitant to talk too much about stuff like that.
Okay. So that's really amazing. You have to admit, from the point of view of people that haven't gone to the moon and in a sense, or Mars. Here you are sitting talking to us, and yet you may have had experiences that are so far beyond our everyday experience on this planet. And you must be, there must be a level at which you would love to share those experiences.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes I make mistakes, and I've let people see some things that I shouldn't have let them see. Because this is a part of something that is in my life that is I'm to do something with.
Sure.
And I don't understand that. I don't know what it is.
That's amazing, because you've worked with this world since the 60s, so you're talking about 40-odd years, and you're still wondering what it is it's all about for you in terms of your destiny, in terms of what it is you're here to do in the future, I guess. Am I understanding you?
There's something that is going to happen, and there is something that we're to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that is.
You were starting in, like you said, the 1960s as an interfacer.
Late 1960s.
Okay. And I'm going to assume clear up to today, because you don't lose the skill. And if you're one of 7, you know, every once in a while they got to come knocking on your door.
Well, they check on you from time to time.
Okay. Visitors out there, different communities, they certainly know how to find you, where you are at any given time, and how to, as you say, see what it is you're going through. For example, they could be seeing this going on right now. They could even have said to you, you know, go ahead with this because this is a good thing, right? So in a sense, you're talking about your destiny, meaning it's not about money. It's not even really a job in the formal sense of the word, right? It's a mission, but it's an earthly mission, in a sense, that you have.
Yeah, I would go along with that there's, you're being driven to do something. You don't have to fully understand it, but it's something you have to do. Mm-hmm. And the other scary aspect about it, you know, you don't know why and you don't know what, but it's coming to an apex. That what you're doing, you're fighting the clock.
Okay, is the clock 2012? Is that the clock you're looking at?
I don't know.
You don't know? And
a lot of people say, gee, if you work with this, you have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. Mm-hmm. And he who comes up and tells you they have all the answers is not being truthful with you.
Sure.
You don't know what it is. Why would one want to go ahead, be in this field, subject themselves to ridicule? And there are family problems. The situation is my family don't understand this. They've been around enough that they know my wife more so than my kids, but I guess my daughter in Vietnam, we had a daughter we've been fighting to get out of Vietnam for almost 30 years. Anyhow, when she came over, well, of course she had her own family with her. And when we started talking about UFOs, they all knew about it. They all knew about certain things I was involved in. And it was the government of Vietnam that told them, which kind of shocked me. And right now there is a tremendous interest among a lot of the people in Vietnam about UFOs.
Oh, really?
One of the first things that happened in Vietnam was, and they called me by my proper name. Most people call me Stoney or Cliff. And we shot at these guys. And I was the first one to pull the trigger. And it was, Clifford, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And I was in the military and we were on a mission. But the strange thing is that, what was he trying to say? That I wasn't supposed to be in the military? Now remember, the military is here on Earth, that's man's.
Sure.
Our visitors, what did they plan for me to do?
Well, can you answer your question? I mean...
I have no answers. I have more questions than you have about myself. 2 or 3 times I got out of the UFO field. But you won't tell you a little secret? You can't. There are people out there, and I'm one of them. It's not about money. God, I wish it was. I struggle and he can tell you, every month just to make my bills. Mm-hmm. It's more than that. But the hardest thing to do right now is to make people think for themselves and to read. If they think for themselves and they read the documentation that's out there, and I'm referring to the government's own evidence, if they read that, with an open mind, they have to come away and say, you know, there's more to this. Something is going on.
Sure.
Then the only questions left to be answered are these. What's going on? How much does our government know? And when did they know it?
Okay, well, we want to thank you for your courage and for your integrity and for your spiritual development or awareness that makes you able to communicate with these off-worlders at a time when few on the planet are able to do so consciously?
There were times that we were just minutes away from going to a nuclear exchange because of UFO sightings.
Sure.
Thanks to the hotline that was set up, which the American people were truthfully told. This was to ensure that there wasn't a nuclear war started by accident due to false returns. And, of course, everybody had war scares. UFOs were a reality. UFOs existed. They were being reported. They were being picked up on radar. Mm-hmm. You had both radar and radar visuals that was taking place. You had fighters trying to intercept them. So in order to reassure one another that we're not doing this, and it should have been commonplace that if we had this technology, or if they had that technology, there was nothing the other side could do anyhow. We had missiles that would be knocked out, not destroyed, but made incapable of firing. Mm-hmm. We had fighter aircraft that would fire on UFOs and their weapons wouldn't work.
You actually have used some of the parts of humanity that are good parts that are not used by the average man. Is that right?
Well, I hope so.